Jack Canfield's Breakthroughs to Success home study course now continues. Enjoy.
Where's Bimmy? I want you to bring her a microphone. I want you to share your story you shared with me. This was really cute.
Peggy needs to stand up, too. A number of years ago, I saw as a premium for continuing to support my public television in Connecticut, a video for yoga for the rest of us. I thought, I've already given for this year, but I'm giving more. I've got to have it. And I got it. And it brought me back to yoga years ago when I was young and flexible. I was really into it. And I tried yoga at the health club, and I just really couldn't keep up with it. It was too much at my age, or at least my condition at that time. So I got the video, and I have been watching it in the morning and going through it, and sometimes I do only a third of it. Other times I finish off the evening with the last relaxation part of it. And so I thought, oh, if only they still had video players in the hotel rooms. They used to do that, and so you could bring your own video. Well, I just have to do without it. So yesterday I'm trying to buy some books, and a lady comes up, and she wants to know whether preteen or teenagers would be for her niece who's just turning 13. And I said, well, I have a new step-niece who's 13, and I gave her the preteen book 2 weeks ago, and last week before I came, she told me it was great. And so I'm thinking, oh boy, I am really getting old. Everybody's starting to look like somebody I know someplace else. And I can't remember where I know who she looks like, okay? So I go to dinner, and I come in, and Karen is sitting a couple of seats around, and I join the table, and I put my stuff down, and this same lady comes and sits down. And she and turns out to be Karen, are talking about a video they're making. And I said, oh, what video are you making? And she said, it's yoga for people who have back problems. And I looked at her and I said, you're the yoga for the rest of us that I have been waking up to for years. And I've always wanted to meet you. And there she is.
Where's Susanna? You want to share your story with us?
Which one?
How you got here?
Oh, puppies for sale?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, my name is Susanna Crowder. I'm from Central Ohio, and I'm an author and a child advocate. I was raised by, well, I actually wasn't ever raised. People who didn't want me became my parents. And I was terribly abused, and to the point of being tortured. And I was also kidnapped and tortured as a child. And by the time I was 28, the depression had gotten the best of me. I didn't know that I needed mental health treatment. I didn't know that I had post-traumatic stress disorder. And I had become homeless. And I was 7.5 months pregnant and not married, and climbing into the McDonald's dumpster to feed the baby inside of me, which is hard to do when you're carrying a boy. And by the way, that child just scored his first soccer goal the other day. So. Go Matthew. But anyway, I was very, just needed some help, and decided I was going to find a family for my son to go to. And then I had already climbed the fence and decided where on the railroad tracks I was going to kill myself. I was going to go on the railroad tracks there in downtown Columbus, where I had grown up. It was almost symbolic. I was going to do it there. That's where I had been abused, and I was still really mad about it. So the next morning, I woke up in my squat. My squat was in the back door of St. Joe's Cathedral, downtown Columbus. And I decided I was going to sneak into McDonald's. Instead of going into the trash can, I was going to sneak in and hope I didn't get thrown out because I wanted to go in the bathroom and get cleaned up and go to the library. I had seen this library my whole life. I was 28 years old. And I thought, if there's an answer, God, it's in there. And if you don't show me the answer, damn it, I'm going to do it. So I snuck in to McDonald's. I got cleaned up because I was known as the crazy homeless pregnant lady on the street. And I went into the library, went up to the second floor where I knew they had nonfiction. The librarian was putting together a table of inspirational books. And I said, okay, yeah, all right. God is with me today. So I grabbed the first one I could get before the librarians realized that I was the crazy pregnant homeless lady. And I went and sat down, and it was Chicken Soup for the Soul. It was the first one. And how many of us have ever opened up a book, and it's like, okay, God, turn that page for me. Yes. And I opened it up, and it was a story called Puppies for Sale. And I was such damaged goods when I walked into that library. My parents hadn't loved me. My mother was a drunk. Nobody cared. They were getting a divorce when they got pregnant with me. So they still hate me because they had to spend another 1.5 years together because of me. So I sat down and I looked at this story and I read this story, and it was about a little boy who went into a pet shop, and the man was selling puppies. There was a sign in the window that said Puppies for Sale. And he went in and he picked out the one he wanted. He had his life savings, $2.30 with him. And he said, I want that one. And the shopkeeper said, that's the runt. That one has a bad leg. You don't want that one. You want one of these other ones. And the little boy said, no, I want that one. And the shopkeeper said, you don't understand. That one's worthless. You want one of the other puppies. And the little boy reached down, and he rolled up his pants leg to show a mangled leg with a brace around it. And he said, I want that one, and I'm going to pay full price, because the shopkeeper had offered, well, take it for free. No, I'm going to pay full price because he's worth it. And I'm going to pay you, and I'm going to make payments until I've paid for this dog. And that's what he did. He said, this dog needs someone who understands. And at that point, I was transformed. There, we talked about yesterday the white light. Angels were flying around me, saying, Susanna, you are no longer damaged goods. You are worthwhile. Now, I was the crazy pregnant homeless lady in downtown Columbus. Those CEOs who used to give me a quarter and look the other way now call me in to speak to their employees. I was the crazy pregnant homeless lady. And Fitness Magazine, when they needed to talk to an expert about emotional fitness, called me last year and quoted me in their magazine. Don't limit yourself to anything, you guys. When I so needed, we see miracles happen every day in our lives. I didn't have a parent, ever. And Jack parented me that day because he had shared that story in Chicken Soup. And I'm sure probably every one of us in this room has been parented somehow by a Chicken Soup story, or one of the wonderful people who have put stories in the books. And yesterday I wanted to acknowledge and appreciate the Chicken Soup staff, if any of you are here, because I'm the crazy lady who would call, and I called the Chicken Soup office after reading that story. I went out and I begged, and I got $2.80 because I found out how much it was going to cost to call the office, because I wanted to make sure they were real. And I don't even know if I called your office or Mark's office or who it was. I just wanted to make sure that the book was real, that the story was real, that these people existed. And then I met you earlier this year when my book was released, and nobody ever told you you're a celebrity. You don't realize that. #1 nonfiction author on the planet, and nobody's ever told him this. I'm sorry if I let the cat out of the bag on that one, because you're so down to earth. And here I am with everything that has happened to me, and I still get to go in and talk to homeless people and sit down. My children save their money to go get the dollar double cheeseburgers at McDonald's and sit down. My 7-year-old son, Matt, sits down with the old homeless man on the street, eats double cheeseburgers with him, and says, still homeless, huh? Yeah, I was too. It sucks, doesn't it? You know? Don't limit yourself to anything, and I know that I have to eat my words today on this because I still limit myself sometimes. Don't you dare limit yourself. And if you have something to share with the world, please remember that there's people out there who have already found a place on the railroad track to put their bodies. Don't hold anything back. If you have something to share, if you have a book to write, if you have a class to teach, don't ever think that you can't do it. And don't hold it inside of you. You don't have the right to. I'm sorry for speaking so long.
Oh, it's okay. If I get that TV show on Fox, I know who's going to be on it. Too funny. All right. What's the name of your book?
Actually, I have 4 copies with me, but I can have a whole bunch overnight if you guys want to. Yeah, it's called Damaged Goods, Adults Can Heal from Childhood Trauma. In April, when we talked, I'm teaching 1 million people in North America to heal from childhood trauma. Good. Because I got pretty good at it. And in April, when we talked, I was on number 477, and now I'm in the 600s somewhere.
On Amazon?
Huh?
On where?
And working on the 1 million people.
Oh, you're getting
there.
it.
1 million people heal from childhood trauma.
Oh, very good. You're on the way. Good job. Okay, fabulous. So if one of you wanted to copy that book on a break, you could give her a card or something so she'll know how many to send. And we'll allow you to do that. Okay, good. Support you in that. All right, the floor is open. Kevin.
My name is Kevin Keynes. Somebody told me I looked like an Italian model this morning. Thank you. I feel much better today than I did yesterday. But I went to Jack yesterday and mentioned to him that I still feel very unseen. And I felt that ever since I was a child. My mom told me that I was this really good baby, so she felt she didn't really need to give me any attention. So I've been looking for that attention ever since. And it's really strange because I have all this amazing stuff in me. I write poetry and songs, and they're really beautiful, but I'm so scared to come out and share it. I do architectural work in Las Vegas, and it's all there, but I just continuously feel really insecure and unable to appreciate myself. I was even too scared to do the mirror thing last night. I came here as almost a last resort. I've been doing this for 30, 40 years, therapy and stuff like that. And oftentimes I'd wake up and just, I didn't have a railway line to lie on, but just felt really suicidal a lot about this. And really don't know exactly what to do. So I'm here. And
good. So come up here. So one of the ways to be seen is to do what you've just done. Okay? Stood up and said, I want to be seen. And guess what? We're seeing you. No, stay here for a minute. That's good.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's also exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I want you to do one other thing with us too. I want you to, in order to be seen, you have to show, you know. So tell us some things about you that are neat. You know, what's neat about Kevin? What's your inner beauty? What's your special talent? You've shared that you write poetry and songs. You're an architect, so you're artistic and engineering, all that good stuff. What else would you like us to know about you?
I'm a great lover. And I don't have anyone to share that with right now. Okay, there you go. How about 1 million people to make love to? I've always felt that I've had something really precious to share in terms of bringing the world together as a loving whole. And I've attempted to do that through my architecture, but I've been doing groups like in California, Emissaries of Divine Light and Miracle of Love, and worked with Bill Harris, and who's an amazing guy. And I find that somehow in me, I'm so attracted to doing this that's really what I want to do, and I have to find an avenue to do that. I think through the music that I do, I'll find a way to do that.
And what kind of music do you play or write or sing, or what do you do when you say music?
I write and I play the guitar and I sing. Picture this. I have to take a deep breath. It's so scary to do this. Picture this wide-eyed world where the air is all of laughter and the earth is soft with moss and grass and sandy beaches, and the rocks are gems and the water liquid light that sparkles and dances all right, and the weather and even the seasons mirror the mood of the spirits, and the harmony they felt makes music, the wind in the trees and the wave on the seas. They tease you to do what you please, do what you please, do what you please, because you're the best. You're amazing. Monkey, bird, cat and whale danced a mermaid circle, and the angels wing a healing round our island of the turtle. And in golden days and soft blue nights, we all would bathe in a mystic light, and gentle strokes by gentle folks fed fine food for the spirit. And the giving all from every part, that makes it. And it takes it round with ease to the sound that frees you to just do what you please, do what you please, do what you please, because you're the best. You're amazing.
Wow.
so much.
One last thing. One last thing. I want you to say the last stanza or so of that poem. It's very beautiful. I was touched very deeply. But I want you to say, do what you please, because I'm the best and I'm amazing.
Okay. I'm going to do what I please, because I'm the best and I am amazing!
Good job, man.
It was worth the risk, thank you.
Thank you. I feel like a transformational obstetrician. Watching people give birth to themselves. This is great. Too fun. We are all miracles, just waiting to unwrap ourselves, you know? Terry?
Hi guys, my name's Terry and I'm from Toronto, and I have a story that happened to me last night, and the story started about a year ago when I met an incredible woman by the name of Joanne who actually got me here. And Joe's over there if you can stand up for a second, because as much as this is my story, it's because of you this story happened. I am a single father. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son, and went through a pretty nasty divorce, and of course the kids were the victim of that divorce. And my son, I guess about a month ago, got pretty hopped up on drugs and alcohol, and stole a car and crashed into a tree, and fortunately didn't kill anybody else, didn't kill himself, and he's in rehab now. But my daughter has had the fallout of a terrible relationship with her mom and a stepfather who has got some issues with my kids. And so the kids came to live with me about a year and a half ago, and I've been a single dad since. And I met Joe about a year ago, and Joe has been on this journey for about the last 5 or 6 years. And I thought, God, what an incredible woman, you know, she's so great with her kids, and she's so soft and peaceful. And Joe kept saying to me, you know, if you can just make a shift in your life, you can just change a little bit, then that shift is going to have a profound effect around those around you. And of course, being a jock, old football player, and a guy, and having all my issues around that, I thought, yeah. So it comes to a few months ago, Joe and I had a bit of a parting of the ways because we weren't on the same page, and I'm thinking, what is this girl thinking? Of course we are, but I come to realize that we weren't, and I had an epiphany of sorts, and Joe realized that, and so we're back together, and we ended up here. But making my long story short, it's late now, but it's because of the time that I spent with Joe, and I'd realized, without realizing, that the shift was happening in me. And then I saw a book, and I started reading, and I got a little bit in touch with myself and spirituality and stuff like that. And the profound effect it had on my kids, I didn't even realize it, and I've been going through all this terrible stuff with my son, and my daughter's been having a rough time with her mom, and there's no relationship there. I go up to the room last night after dinner. I don't even get the book on the bed. There's a call from my daughter. She's 15 years old. She says, Dad, I started to read a book that Joe works with this lady who wrote a book on self-healing and stuff like that, taking responsibility for your own issues. She said, I've got through 50 pages of this book. I've cried 3 times today. And she said, you know, all the other girls want to go to school and they want to get, you know, they want to make over, they want their hair done and their clothes done and everything else. She goes, I want to make over on the inside. And you could have knocked me over with a feather that this impact that Joe's had on my life that I didn't realize I'd had on my kid's life. And now I'm here, and my daughter calls me last night, and it's had that much of a change on her life, and hopefully on my son's life. But I guess what I'm really trying to say, guys, is that if you have a relationship with your kids, what we're doing here, I mean, it really works. You know, if you can change yourself, then you're going to change those around you, and then this effect that you're talking about is just going to keep reaching out. And I mean, she called me. It was totally unsolicited, and you could have knocked me over with a feather. Anyways, just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you. Oh my, who to call in? Yes.
On a Thursday night about 10 years ago, I found myself in a bookstore looking at some self-help books, and it said, a voice in my head, turn around. So I turned around, and I looked right at a book on, I don't know what the section title is, but the name of the book was Adult Children of Alcoholics. I had just gotten divorced from a woman, and I started reading this book, and I said, oh yeah, she's on page 1 and 2, 3 and 4. I got to page 50, she was all over this book. Her father was truly an alcoholic, he was truly an abusive person, she exhibited every one of these characteristics. And at page 50, I, for some reason, opened my mind a minute and said, gee whiz, I might be in this book. So I went back and sat down in Borders and started reading this thing from page 1. And we love to live in denial. We don't want to accept responsibility for anything. I found my mother, bless her heart, in this book. And I found my grandfather on her side, bless his heart, in this book. And then when you start reading the concept of adult children of alcoholics, you find out that regardless if your parents are alcoholics now, if they were raised by alcoholics a generation before, they'll pass on those characteristics and those traits. So I started attending some of these AA groups. There's an AA group for adult children of alcoholics, and that's where the story gets hard because I'm a pretty accomplished individual. I flew F-4s in the Marine Corps. Back in the 60s during the Vietnam time. I flew Mach 2 over North Carolina. That's fast. I played football and went to college on a scholarship, and I did a lot of neat things, and I was pretty self-absorbed. And I said, in my humblest moment, at Mach 2, you can't outrun yourself. And my journey for self-awareness and for self-responsibility began. This is kind of the culmination of it. Yesterday's exercises and the things that we've done prove time and again that at Mach 10, you cannot outrun yourself. The answer is inside.
Thanks. I love it. People raise me, and then they go, me?
I'm Annie Rye, and I am absolutely petrified of standing up in front of all of you, so I have to turn around and look at you. Last night, I did the exercise, who you hide from, or what do you
hide and who do you hide it from? Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I have to stand up in front of these people and tell the truth. I am petrified of standing up here and being who I am in front of you. People say to me, you have a wonderful smile, you look great, you glow, but underneath all that, I'm petrified. And last night, you know, I can do all those other exercises, I can say I love you, I can acknowledge people. So here I am, and I'm not the shrinking violet or the scared rabbit, and I'm glad I'm here with all of you. So thank you. But before you do anything, I just have to say, could we please acknowledge Tina? She's the gal in the morning some of you have met. She runs the espresso bar, and she is your biggest fan. She loves you, and if there's some way we could get her here and acknowledge her, There was a man sitting at the counter, and he's not part of this training, and he was like this. And I said, would you mind shaking my hand? And he got up, and she said, and now let's practice a hug. So he looked really scared. He said, no, I'm not part of any of this stuff. I'm not on the training. So I said, well, let's try it. So we did a hug, and she said to me, no, you're not doing it right. This is how it's done. And so she did the left, and she did the right, the heart hug, the soul hug. And she said, you know, I love Jack Canfield. I have his book, and he's a great guy. And I would ask you, it would mean a lot to me to see her acknowledged. She's there every morning, and giving her $5 is not what would make her happy. So I'd like to see her be acknowledged, if that's possible.
Right now? Can we bring her
I don't know what her hours are, but she's here very early in the morning, and it would mean a lot to me to see her acknowledged. So.
Okay, we'll see what we can do. Yes. Yes, you.
Hi, I'm Chasey West, and I have Diana to thank for this. I want you to know just how far your celebrity goes. I signed up for your conference on June 20th. That's how I found out about this. And I kept trying to decide, is this something I should go to? Would this be for me? And I really agonized about it, and that's not typical of me. So I took an easy road out. My husband died in 1998. Since then, I have heard from him literally and figuratively a number of times, and indirectly by a couple of mediums. I had a reading it with Robert Brown in May, where my husband came through and let me know that he was pissed off at me for, during meditation, making all these requests about my spiritual journey with my spirit guide and not him. He said he wanted to help, and if I ever needed help and had a question, he would do his best to help me. So I said, okay, kiddo. During meditation that night, I said, Bob West, I got this problem. There's this seminar being held by this chicken soup guy. I said, you know and I know that I really can't afford to go, but something is pulling me toward this. If you think I should go, and I will get something out of this to help me over the bumps in my journey, my spiritual journey, send me a sign. Send me or show me 2 yellow roses by midnight on Friday, which was my birthday. And then I forgot about it. I had dumped it in somebody else's lap. Friday afternoon, the doorbell rings. I go to the door, it's the florist, and friends in New York had sent me an arrangement for my birthday. Gorgeous orange and purple blossoms, the most fantastic thing I've ever seen. And smack dab in the middle, as if like an afterthought, 2 yellow roses. So you are well known on the other side, kiddo.
We pay the Astral Public Relations Fund every week. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Joanne Cutler, and I'm from Toronto, and I'm with Terry over there, who stood up. Firstly, I want to thank Terry for standing up and share something with you that he didn't share, and to acknowledge his bravery in standing up and speaking in front of you, because not unlike Lori, is it? Annie, I'm sorry. He too has a fear of public speaking, and he stood up and spoke from his heart to all of you. So I'd like to acknowledge Terry for having done that. What Terry shared with you was part of my story, and what I want to share with you from me is that I'm no different than anyone here, and you're no different than the person sitting beside you. We're really all the same. And I found that out. I went to a seminar once where I was probably at that point in my life, thought I was happy, but wasn't really, and I didn't know why. And I was a total type A personality. Do, go, 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 life's treadmill. And I was cement probably from here to here, never felt anything, compassion, empathy, love, or pain, or anger, anything, just total blocked. And I went to a seminar, and someone said, and changed my life, or one of the points, we all have teachers at some point in our life, and they said, you have a choice. You can be right, or you can be happy. And at that point in my life, I was the most self-righteous person I knew, and I was not happy. So I made that choice at that time to shift it. And then along the journey, things change, and we meet the people that we need to meet right at the right time. And so I know for some of you here, I might be the right person that you just might hear something of what I'm going to share with you. I'm a mother of 2 children, and I grew up in a very yelling household. And I swore, and of course we all say this, we're not going to turn into our parents, but who else are we going to turn into? Because that's who taught us. So of course we're going to turn into our parents. And I, all of a sudden, woke up one day yelling at my children. And I said, I don't want to do this. I want to do it differently. But I didn't have any anger. I mean, I was a really, easygoing, life of the party kind of person. I didn't have any anger. Well, it was so buried down, way down in my big toe. But it did surface when, of course, I lost it with my kids, or if someone might have cut me off on the highway or something like that. So I started working with a woman by the name of Colleen Hoffman-Smith, and from there I started teaching the program, living it and then teaching it. But it absolutely changed my life. And the proof is in the pudding. My children now are 12 and almost 14. And my daughter's the one that's, Melissa is going to be almost 14, and people go, oh my gosh, you have a teenage daughter? Oh, the next 4 years are going to be awful. And I said, well, why? Why did they have to be that way? Oh, they become so surly and da-da-da-da-da. Well, you create what you believe, so I choose not to believe that. But my children at 12 and 14 say, Mom, remember when you used to yell at us? I absolutely can say, and not from any other place than from learning and owning my own anger, that I did have it, I've gotten rid of it, and I absolutely, if I do get triggered by my kids, which is not very often now, I know what to do with it, but I do not yell at my kids. And they come to me and say, Mom, why can't other moms and dads know this? And I said, well, they just don't know yet. And I didn't know when I yelled at you how to do it any differently either, because that's how I was taught. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. So if just even one person went home and thought that the next time when they go and take their anger out on their kid instead of taking care of it from within, then standing up in front of all of you was well worth it. So thank you.
Would you tell God that so he'd stop that lightning out there? That's really loud, isn't it? Amazing. Yes.
My name's Jody, and I thought I'd share what happened to me when we did all the yelling and screaming yesterday, because I thought it was pretty interesting. I sat down in the chair. I was the first one to go in my group, and I felt like I was strapping myself in a chair like at a fun house, you know? And like, okay, I'm going to go for this ride. And everyone started yelling. Well, I yelled first, and then everyone started yelling. And I looked around the room, and then I was just surrounded by this fog of breath and spit on my neck, and I thought, what am I doing? And I thought, if my 13-year-old daughter would see me now, she would fall on the floor laughing and she would die. She would just break into pieces. And then I thought, okay, I'm just going for the ride. And then the most surprising thing happened. The voices of the people who were in my group suddenly became the voices of my grandparents. And I hadn't heard my grandparents' voices so vividly for a long time. They passed away many years ago. And each grandparent individually, and Marsala was behind me, and her voice rose to this high pitch, just like my father's mother, and just like she was calling me when I was little. And I realized that the message that I was asking for and that they were giving me had been given to me by my grandparents when I was a young child. And I had the message when I was young, and I lost it somewhere along the way. And so I was asking for it back again. And so I felt 8 years old again, but then I grew it up, and I grew it to my present age. And then the voices transformed at that point when I felt my adult self to these ancient voices, like the voices of the muses. And so then I imagined myself working or sitting at my desk working, and I imagined these voices always with me. The ancients were here, and so I just wanted to share that, and I wanted to bring in the ancients, and that they are here supporting us, and that in the present moment, a lot of us, or I feel competition from people a lot, or I feel less support in the present, but the present from the ancients was very powerful.
Thank you.
Well, we have the ancients and on the other side, and this is good, yeah?
You get to pick the next one.
Oh, I get to pick? Great. Charlotte? Yeah.
Charlotte.
Okay, my name is Charlotte Staggs. I'm from Tennessee, so if you can't understand me, I'm sorry. My personal story is actually, I did not sign up to come here. Thank you. My husband, actually, you mentioned Mary Kay yesterday, and I am in Mary Kay. And we are very positive most of the time. But I grew up with a very low deserve level. And I heard about your conference call where you talked about the workshop and your book. And I was telling my husband about it, so he wanted to listen to it. And then he said, you need to go to this. And I went, no way. There is no way that I'm going to go to that and pay that kind of money. No way. Because I didn't feel like I deserved it. So about a week later, he came in with a package of information, and I started getting these emails from this Jessie person, and I'm like, so he had registered me for it. He'd made my hotel reservation. He bought my plane ticket. So I tried to talk him into coming with me because I didn't want to come by myself. And he wouldn't come. He said, this is something you have to do on your own. And it's been great so far, and I know that it's going to be better. But my deserve level is still so low that I can't imagine that I would deserve to ever be able to attend something, to me, that cost an unbelievable amount of money. And when he told me that he had registered for me for this, I looked at him and I went, you're not going to come back to me in 3 or 4 months and tell me it's my fault because there's these charges on this credit card bill, are you? because that's the way I had lived, and when I was married before, that's what I lived in. Every time I spent money, it got thrown up to me, and I just was not going to do it again. And I'm really glad that I came, and I'm really glad that I stood up and shared, even though I'm scared to death.
Morning.
Yep.
I'm a redneck.
Officially.
And you're funny too.
So I want you to find someone that you can kind of make eye contact out there, and just find one person so it doesn't seem so big, all of these people, just one person. And then I want you to look right into their eyes and say, something I really appreciate about myself is. And then I want you to share something that you appreciate about yourself, okay? So find someone first. Tell me when you've got them.
Okay.
Good.
I'll think about this. Something that I really appreciate about myself is that I am very loyal to my friends and my family.
Excellent. Very nice. So let's just hold the applause for a little bit, okay? So find someone now over here that you can see and say something else I appreciate about myself is. Make sure you find someone that you can look at and talk to.
Okay. Something else?
Mm-hmm.
I have to have two things? Okay, I'll pick you. That just spoke a little while ago. Yes, you. Something else that I appreciate about myself is that I am a hard worker, and I will work for someone else for the betterment of other people. I love to make other people feel good.
Good. Now find some. No, we're not done yet. Over here, someone, a new person, something else I appreciate about myself is.
Something else that I appreciate about myself is that I'm a good mother.
I bet you are. Someone over here, something else I appreciate about myself is.
Don't stand up and speak anytime this week. No, I'm joking. That I appreciate about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Can we volunteer anything?
No.
Something else that I appreciate about myself is that I love people.
Good, very good. Now I want you to find someone, and I want you to say, I really deserve everything in life because.
Because why? I'll give you the question if you'll give me the answer. Okay. I deserve everything in life Because I am loyal, I am a hard worker, and I'm willing to do whatever I can to help everybody. Therefore, it makes me deserve whatever I have coming to me.
Very good. And now one more. I want you to look out at this whole room and I want you to say, I really deserve everything in life just because I'm me.
I really deserve everything in life just because I'm me.
Yeah. Let it in, let it in. Anything else you want to say? Thanks,
Good work, Charlie.
To resume listening to this course on audio CD, please go to CD number 14.
In the back.
Excuse to stand. I'm not so good at sharing, which is why I thought I'd stand up and share. I was sitting down.
Hold the mic closer
sorry.
to your
Sorry.
mouth, and then you'll be even better at sharing. Go ahead.
I'm David from London. I was sitting here, and there's a voice inside of me saying, stick your hand up, stick your hand up. And the other part of my head saying, well, I'm not too sure what I'm going to share. Stick your hand up, you'll know. So I stuck it up. So I had an incredible experience yesterday when we were sitting in the room, and I'm starting to feel it now again. When I was sitting in the chair, I had a great team with me, and I started to feel a small tingling inside my body. I thought, this is good, and that tingling escalated. It got bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point at which I thought, I'm not quite sure how much more I could take. And it just continued to rise. And it was as if I've said to people, I once experienced an electric shock. Just went to turn on a light, it must have been faulty wiring. I felt that go through my body. This was about 1,000 times more powerful than that. It was like about 400,000 volts going through my body as I was sitting there. And then when it came to an end, so it went quiet, and all I could hear was me breathing and silence all around, but I still had this energy inside me, this electricity. And then I opened my eyes, and who the hell's that? And it was Jack Canfield. And it was the scene from when a little kid is born and looks up, or when in the Hollywood movies when somebody's lying up and they can see the surgeon. I'm sitting there, and in my eyes, I could see Jack in front of me. I could think of what I wanted to say, but I couldn't get a single word out. Maybe I tried a wink or something, or a smile. And that sensation stayed within me for about an hour and a half, and I have to thank Thales and Bob for their help and their support and their love and their care around me. And I experienced every possible emotion under the sun in the time, that hour and a half. The intensity, the electricity in this room. I think we tried standing up 2 or 3 times, but my legs just gave way. There was nothing in me. I just could not physically move my body at all. We went outside, managed to somehow signal that I could walk. Went outside, and they escorted me to the view said, just look into the clouds. And so I was looking into the clouds, and the first face that I saw was one that the features were clearly defined, and it wasn't a smile looking down from me in the clouds. And brought tears to my eyes. And I just kept looking, and the next face that came up was also very clearly defined, and it was closer. It wasn't quite as frowned as previously, and I kept looking, thinking, I want to see the smile down at me. I'm not going anywhere until I see that smile. And I was looking at those clouds, and I was looking, and it felt like an eternity, and nothing happened. And then I looked across. There was this huge cloud with a big black smile. I said to the guys, I said to Bob and Thales, I said, remember that? So I managed to speak. That's all I could say. They saw it too. They may not have seen what I saw, but they saw it too. And it was an incredible experience. And talking it through with everybody. Oh, and it just lasted for ages. And eventually I managed to eat and I get some heat, go into the spa. I was quite careful, I just wondered if I was going to get another electric shock touching the water. I was okay. And then it kind of dawned on me, perhaps, why I had this experience. And I had said the limiting belief, which was born out of everybody telling me this, is that I'm unrealistic. To which I say to myself, was Walt Disney unrealistic? And was Gandhi unrealistic? And was Bill Gates unrealistic? Because I know what I want to do. And what I want to achieve. I'm in the process of writing a book, and I met some great people in New York when I was recently there, and they bought into my vision of the book, the idea that I'm developing, and the girl that I met, a strategist who's an Amazon bestseller, said to me, this is an amazing idea, we're going to sell 1 million of your books on day one of launch. I said, okay. And I've since found that there are two kinds of people in this world. When I share my idea, the one when I say I firmly believe I'm going to sell 1 million of my books on day one, and they tell me it's not going to happen, it's impossible. You're an unknown author. No one can do it. It's just impossible. And then there's the other person that says, why only 1 million? That's my kind of person. I think so what really came out is that the reason I feel that I was able to experience the intensity at such a high level was because this was what I was born to do. And this is what I would die doing. I think that's why it was so intense. And I know that some people would have contributed their turnaround statement, whatever it was that they want to be, be able to have a clearer office, whatever, which is great, but they're not putting themselves on the line. And I think whatever your statement was is great, but if you search deep inside your heart, you'll know, what are you prepared to put yourself on the line for? What were you here to do? What have you been put on this earth to do? And when you figure that out, then nothing else is important. The state of the office is not that important compared to what you're here to do. And when you get in touch with that and you're honest with yourself and you all know deep down what the answer is, and I say to people say, I don't know what mine is, to which I reply, if you keep saying, I can't think of it, I don't know, you won't know. You must say, I know what it is, it's inside me. What I need to do is to find more creative ways of bringing that to the surface. And then you'll know. I hope you'll get to experience what I experienced yesterday.
What was your turnaround statement, David?
My turnaround statement was, I'm a genius. I'm on my way to helping millions of people.
share something very interesting with you. I mentioned to the group, I think I brought his name up twice, Dr. John DeMartini, who's a friend of mine and a friend of Marcia's. And when he met Paul Bragg, when he was his body was pretty much dead, he was about to die, Paul Bragg gave him an affirmation. I don't know it exactly word for word, but the first words were, "I am a genius, and I share my wisdom with the world or with everyone I meet or with millions." I don't know exactly what it was. But Paul, who was one of the greatest people I think that ever walked on the planet, and John, who I think is equally powerful, and you obviously are holding that same focused energy. So you're not alone, and it's a very powerful affirmation. And as a result, John, who was literally dyslexic, ADD, all this kind of stuff, couldn't study in school, by repeating that affirmation every day, started reading the dictionary every day, adding 20, 30 words to his vocabulary until he had learned every word in the dictionary, and has read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica cover to cover and all the books ever written by any Nobel Prize winner in any field. And it just literally shifted his entire brain chemistry, if you will. So it is very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
What's the name of his book?
Someone said, what's the name of John DeMartini's book? Oh, his book. What, are you ready to share that yet, or is that still something you're holding? The title of your book? Road Trip to Success. Taking everyone on a journey, the road trip to success. Very good. I like it. All right, we're going to take one more, and then we have to take a break, or all the women will run out of the room when I'm not looking. Your turn to pick, Madam Marcia.
You, sir.
My name is Edward Ferguson, and currently living in Dayton, Ohio right now. Just got off of active duty and just moved back to the States. And actually just want to thank a couple of people real quick. Peggy, also my group from yesterday, Samara, Lance, and Chris. I hope it's Chris. And also a lot of the others that I feel I've been blessed with so far, as well as also Jack and my lovely wife, Pamela. And actually, Pam, if you can stand up. I just know that one of the things I've learned from seminars that I've been to is a lot of speakers, when they come in, they actually have a message. And that message might not be for everybody, but it's for somebody in particular in the audience, and you never know who it may be. And just a couple of the speakers who have spoken so far, thank you very much for sharing, because each of your little points kind of brought something together, and it really wasn't until I heard something that I knew I had to put my pen down, stand up, and basically talk. And what I wanted to say was, from yesterday with the group, the experience that I had was I understood that I would actually handicap myself in a way, because I always felt growing up that I had the potential to do something great, but I didn't necessarily know what it was going to be. But I would achieve a lot. However, I would stop myself from experiencing the fullness of it. I had actually become an Eagle Scout at age 13. I had actually gone to the Naval Academy, which was something that I had always wanted to do. I became a Navy pilot. That was something I had wanted to do. But I had always had my father, who was also successful as well. He kind of paved the way, and I ended up doing the things that he was never able to do. So for a long time I wondered, hey, is this my path or is this his path? And I realized after a while that you choose your own path, regardless of whether anybody else has suggested this is something that you could do or something that you couldn't do. And ultimately, what I learned from yesterday was reconnecting with not expressing my true self, my true feelings, and that I would hold back and kind of have those achievements out there. And in a way, that's who I associated with. but I knew honestly and deep down that wasn't truly who I was meant to be. And I believe that everything that I've done up to this point has been moving along the path, and so that way I can bring back the experience and be able to relate to other people who have experienced the same thing. And so far, each day I've done something within this seminar. Part of it, when I remind myself, well, why am I going to do something? Sometimes I think, well, hey, you paid a lot of money. You're going to get something out of this. So, and actually on the first day, after we broke up, I went over to Jack and I said, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I am, as far as proclaiming this, that we will write an international bestseller. We will share a stage together. Who knows, maybe this was it, but but that was just the feeling that I had, and I know just he had that look at me like, okay, well, who's this guy? And I just reminded, the first thing that came into my mind was the story that it would tell about O.J. Simpson and talking to James Brown and telling him, hey, I'm going to beat all your records someday. And all Jim Brown asked was, what was your name? And at least he saw my name tag, so I knew he'd get my name. And earlier this morning, well, actually last night, Pam and I, we had been having difficulties with being newly married for a couple of years, plus also some differences in cultures and also moving. For example, I met her in Hong Kong. We ended up, I was next station in Sicily, where we lived for 3 years. And just two people trying to learn to live together, it's been difficult. And also because a lot of the things that she shared with me, as far as being a guy, I understood when he said, yeah, our focus is, hey, we got to go out there. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to go for it. Come on, whoever isn't with me, they're against me. But it's very tough to kind of, I guess, put down some of that macho-ness and to see what really is needed to build your team. And to have those people who truly do love you come with you. And as far as that was one of the difficulties that I had, and I saw that I was stopping that process by not expressing those feelings. And I was also thinking, hopefully Jack also has a seminar for couples as well, because really, I know I would not have been able to have done as much as I have within the past couple of years, not having Pamela with me, even though at times I fought it quite a bit. But this morning we went for a walk, and one of the we're actually standing across the way, and we just looked across at the houses, did some dream building, and actually could see ourselves living in an area such as this, and having a fantastic life. And all that came to me was, are you ready? And at first I said, no, not really. The next thing that came in was, well, get ready. Because it's going to come, whether you want it to or not, and all you can do is go along with it and do the best you can. And I've chosen to get ready, and actually we talked about it this morning. And so I guess this is the first step. So, thank you.
In a moment, we're going to go on a break. I'm going to give you a little assignment to do on this break. So it's really kind of a half break. So on this break, I want you to go up to at least 8 people and share the following thing. You're going to say, my name is, and my inner beauty is. It's like when Charlotte was up here saying, you know, what I appreciate about myself, I'm a loyal person, I'm a good mom, etc. And the way I hide it is, and the way I choose to express it here today is. So you're owning that you have this inner beauty, that's the golden Buddha under the clay. How do you hide it? And I choose to express it here today by what? So I want you to look at what's inside, how you've been hiding it up until now, and what your intention is, how you plan to express it here today, whatever that is. You know, I'm going to go get 3 hugs, or I'm going to stand up, or I'm going to ask for what I want, or I'm going to tell 3 people I deserve whatever I want, or I'm going to share my feelings like this young gentleman just did over here. So whatever it is for you. So 8 people, you'll share theirs, they'll share yours back, okay? You can do it on the way to the bathroom, you can do it standing next to each other in the bathroom, you can do it on the way back, you can do it in the hall. You've got 20 minutes, have a good break. You guys had talked about Tina and her incredible presence and her facilitative abilities out there at the coffee bar, so we went and got Tina. Tina, could you come up here?
I know all about you. You're awesome. And I have friends that know you, and I was supposed to have 7 of your books. Oh, thank you. Keep them on.
So we were doing some sharing here earlier, and several people talked about how much you were lifting their day and making it, not just from the coffee, but from your presence and you just get involved with people and how much they felt uplifted by that, and said they wanted to acknowledge you. So I said, go get her, we'll do it. So I just want you to know that you are a positive force in the world. And what's really so beautiful about Tina and all of the people that are like her is that you don't have to be a trainer, a consultant, a facilitator, a psychologist to be a positive transformational force in the world. You simply have to show up as someone who reaches out and cares and lets yourself be fully present as she does, as you've told me. So basically, we just wanted to acknowledge you, let you know we appreciate you. And the staff here is great, and you're one of the stellar standouts. So we just wanted to say thank you. You can certainly say something. Yes. Let me bring you a microphone, though.
Oh, I got to bring my
You have to hold it up here, though. Here, I'll tell you what. If you speak out of your navel, that'll work. But otherwise, hold it right up to your chin, or it won't.
First of all, good morning.
Keep talking.
It's a privilege and an honor to have been serving you here in Ritz-Carlton. I have much zeal and passion for you. We're honored to have you here in our presence. And I'm learning things from you too, heart to heart. So you keep connecting those heart to hearts, and you keep believing in yourself. And don't believe what the world has to say. Believe in him and believe in your heart, and you will succeed. And follow your dreams, and don't let anybody sell you short. Live them. Don't let nobody put you down, because you guys are successful. You guys are wonderful. You are our leaders of our future. Hang in there, okay? And we love you. And thank you. And come back next year, too.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You never know. All right. We are going to talk about broken agreements. And the way I'd like to start this is everyone up until now who has broken an agreement you made on Monday, I'd like you to stand. So if you're seated, that means you've been in your seat every time Superman stopped. You've done all the homework. You have never side talked. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is ask you to sit down. But in order to do this exercise, you can sit down. I'm going to interact with maybe 6 or 7 people here and this is about learning. It's not about making you wrong. It's not about shaming. It's not about There's no punishment here. It's an opportunity to learn. And so every once in a while, I'm going to say, if I stop interacting with a person, raise your hand if you had a broken agreement. Normally, I would have everyone keep standing, but you wouldn't be able to see anyone talking if we do that because there's so many of us here. So we'll do it that way. So again, if you had a broken agreement, would you just raise your hand? And PJ, would you stand up? And would you bring him a microphone, please? So what agreement or agreements did you break?
I had an agreement with myself that I was going to get up at 5 a.m. and work out yesterday and today.
So that was an agreement you made with yourself, and you didn't keep that agreement?
No.
And what did you make more? What did you first know you'd have a broken agreement when you made that agreement?
What did I first know you would have? Well, when I woke up at like 8 o'clock.
So it was after the time had passed,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
And what did you make more important than keeping your agreement?
Sleep.
Sleep?
Yeah.
Okay, so comfort. Okay, good. And what did you experience when you realized you had a broken agreement?
Disappointment.
Disappointment.
All week I'd planned this beautiful workout program, get up early in the morning at 5 a.m., work out after the seminar, and I was going to have a great week. And I haven't done it in the morning. I've kept my agreement in the evening, but not in the morning, so disappointment.
Okay, good. That's all I want. Thanks. Give him a hand. Hands up again if you had a broken agreement. See, Deborah, what agreement or agreements did you break?
When my husband and I got married 23 years ago, I grew up as a Catholic, and he grew up in the Jewish faith. And to get married in a church, we agreed that we were going to bring our children up Catholic, even though we knew we would not.
Okay, I'll work with this. I'm really looking for agreements we broke in the room here, but that's fine, because it will work as well. So you knew, when did you first know? Did you know when you made the agreement you weren't going to keep it?
Yes, we did.
You did, okay, good. And what did you make more important than keeping your agreement?
At that time, we felt it was important, I felt it was important to my parents that I get married in a church.
So approval.
Yes.
You made approval more important than your own integrity.
Exactly.
Okay. And was there any cost you paid for breaking that agreement?
Neither of us ever felt good about it.
So it was just an internal sense of something not good.
And integrity is something important to us and that we've taught to our children. And yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you. Give her a hand. Who else had a broken agreement? Lucy. And what agreement or agreements did you break since the beginning of the seminar?
Well, I've broken two, actually. Yesterday on the break, I really wanted another cup of coffee because I only had one in the morning. So I went over to Starbucks and got in line, and it was taking a really long time, and I really wanted a double latte. So I kept staying in line, and I kept thinking, it's longer than 20 minutes. I've got to get back. And finally, I did leave before I got my coffee and came back, and the session had already started.
Okay, so you were late.
So I was late.
And when did you first know you'd have a broken agreement?
I didn't know it at that point.
So you only knew you had a broken agreement when you showed up late?
No, well, I knew when I was standing in line that if I didn't get back here, I was going to break that agreement.
So you knew that, okay.
Yeah.
And what did you make more important than keeping your word?
Coffee.
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 So it sounds like comfort again.
It was comfort.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good.
Actually, yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for where I put my books before, Jim.
Okay, Tell us your name. I can't. Your name tags.
I'm 5 and.
There it is.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, there it is. All right. Who else has a broken agreement? Let's see here. Wendy. And what agreement or agreements did you break?
The 8 people that you're supposed to talk to, I only got to 6.
6. And when did you first know you'd have a broken agreement here?
When I had trouble coming up with something. I was trying to think of something to share for Inner Beauty, and dropping off a book in my room at the same time. And when I came back, actually somebody else helped me out with coming up with something, and I started sharing it, and then we were called back into the room.
So you went to your room to put the book away?
Yeah.
Okay. And that kind of messed up your time?
My fault.
Okay. And what did you make more important than keeping your word?
Convenience.
Convenience. Get rid of the book? Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Who else has a broken agreement? David.
The same one we just had about making this last homework, this last assignment, and I spoke with 4 people instead of 8. So when did I realize that I had broken the agreement was it actually became a conscientious decision.
So you decided?
I decided, okay, there's not going to be enough time to do this, and go for quality versus the quantity. Because the people I was speaking with, we actually got into a deeper discussion. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to get to 8.
Okay.
So I made a conscious decision. I'm going to go for quality of the conversations as opposed to the quantity of 8. And it was a conscious breaking of that agreement.
Okay. And what did you make more important than keeping your word?
Quality and depth of relationships.
Depth of relationship.
Depth of
quality.
relationship versus the...
And you'd made an agreement to follow all the facilitator's instructions?
I did.
Okay. Is there anything in you where independence is really important to you?
Not only independence, possibly this concept of rebellion of authority.
Rebellion of authority, okay.
And it's amazing how it comes out in your kids, and I have 9 of them.
Okay, so rebellion against authority. Very good, thank you, appreciate it. The sisters have their hand up. Okay, well, I'll come over there. You can give the blue one first. The blue one.
The blue one and the pink one. I'm Colleen, and I'm really agitated at this second because I consciously chose to break this rule because we were in such profound motion together as outside and then back inside that I thought, hell with the rule. What's the rule when people are for the first time allowing themselves in their lives to be hugged? What's a rule when somebody's heart is opening and there she sits? How could I walk away when her heart is speaking?
So you were with someone and you were staying with them while they were doing whatever it is you thought was important.
And I knew we were running late, and I said, I don't give a damn. I don't care if I'm embarrassed in front of 287 people. I'm 288. I didn't care. Mm-hmm. And I don't care now.
I got that. Now, we're not done yet, though. Okay.
Oh, no.
Just one last question. What did you make more important than keeping your word?
Somebody else's heart.
Somebody else's heart.
A need that she had. Mm-hmm. At that moment. That timing was incredible.
And do you ever make other people's needs more important than keeping your own word?
Well, of course.
And has that ever cost you anything?
Yes, it has.
Like what?
It's cost me getting my own needs met.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. On occasion.
Okay. Very good. You can give it to your sister.
It's basically the same thing because we, at the very end, as the Superman music, I didn't realize that I'd broken the agreement until you asked if your butt's been in the seat at the end of the music, and we looked at each other and went, no, we didn't get here this time. But it was because Colleen and I were having a moment at the last minute, and I, again, felt the need that it was important to finish that moment rather. I mean, I didn't consciously even think about it at that point. It was important to have that moment and to support, and so.
So how would you frame that, what you made more important than keeping your word?
My sister.
Your sister?
My relation, no, yeah, my sister.
Mm-hmm. Is there any, this may be scratching the surface, but is there anything there, because it often happens that we know we're breaking an agreement. We know we're supposed to be somewhere else. But we stay where we are because we want the approval of that person rather than the integrity of our word.
I understand that, but no.
Okay, that's why I said it may or may not apply.
Yeah, no, not at this point. It was, I had a flash of something. She had said, she had shared her, her vulnerability.
Inner beauty.
Thank you, her inner beauty, and there was something there that because of our relationship, I could say, oh, have you thought that this? And that was a moment that she just needed a little bit of extra support. And so I did that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Martin.
Right. Well, I'm side talking as I'm not a non-communicative person. I fell on that a few times. But basically the thing I want to talk about now is the 8 people. And because I sort of, okay, I knew I had a business with Robin and I had to go somewhere, but the biggest thing was basically I didn't know what to share. Like, it was like a blank, not there. So I said, okay, good, I'm not gonna keep that agreement. So I basically knew from before. And then when I came back actually and I was out there and saw people sharing, I was like, actually that's cool. And so I went up and I think I was talking to Thomas, right? Thomas came up and shared with me. And the thing he shared, it struck a chord in me, and actually I said, oh, see, exactly that's the thing. And I was so blocked before and I couldn't see it. And it's like really like, well, I don't hide anything, and I'm like, but actually I did, yeah. And so then I started sharing with people, and I only came up to 2. But it was a good experience. But sort of, I knew before, sort of, that I would break that agreement, or because I didn't have a clue how to do it, and then I ran out of time simply. And I think what made it more important than keeping your word was sort of like some sort of inner holding back, like not really being in touch with myself and getting to the point what I wanted to share. So yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Do 1 or 2 more. Who else had a broken agreement? Hold your hand up if you had a broken agreement. Let's go to this gentleman here, Brent.
My name's Brent. The agreement that I broke was that I didn't do the exercise last night. I felt tired at the end of the day. I'm not staying at the hotel. I'm back in town, so it just and there was when that rebelliousness thing came up, it was just like, no, I don't want to do this. And it's like, well, I can do that, after today rather than, yesterday.
Okay. And when did you first know you'd have a broken agreement in this training?
Probably driving back
Driving back, you were deciding that?
Yeah.
Mhm. And what did you make more important than keeping your word?
Probably just kind of like socializing and staying too late and, sort of just the excitement of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you get out of socializing? What was the need that was being met when you were socializing?
Well, I think I was feeling like I wasn't. I felt a little bit deprived for not being here, and I was feeling a little bit kind of agitated about that. It's like, oh, I got to leave each night, and I don't get the full sort of benefit of it, and I should have worked it differently, and that kind of stuff. So, I guess there was just that bit of resentment. It's gonna.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a little rebelliousness and a little bit of independence and a little bit of convenience and a little bit of approval and a little bit of all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Brent.
Yeah,
appreciate it. So what happens here is that from our experience, there seem to be three basic things that get in the way of people keeping their agreements, three other things that they make more important. One is comfort. Well, I wanted the coffee. Well, I wanted to sleep in. Well, I didn't feel like it. Well, I wanted to, get a massage instead of do my homework or whatever. How many times in life have we messed up relationships, business deals, friendships, projects, because we'd rather do something that felt good? How many times have we messed up business relationships, personal relationships, because of convenience? It just wasn't convenient. Didn't feel like it. Would have been difficult. When is it David? Who had the energy experience yesterday? Is it David? Is that David? Okay. So when David had that experience, one of the things I know that's important to get into a body that's going through that is electrolytes. Well, we didn't have any Gatorade. What did we do? We sent a staff person to get it. Was that convenient? No, it was a pain in the ass. But we did it because that's what we do. We get the job done. And so the reality is a lot of times we don't do things because it's not convenient. But if you make a commitment and people are depending on you, it's helpful to do that. And the other thing that we see constantly is approval. The need for approval. I'd rather stay here and get some approval than go over there and do what I said I was committed to do. Side talking, a lot, has to do with approval, has to do with getting attention, has to do with being listened to, being noticed, getting agreement about things. And the other one that shows up a lot is the rebelliousness. Can't tell me what to do, And that's okay, but it often gets in the way. So let's just brainstorm for a minute. Raise your hand. We'll just yell it out. We won't use a mic. What are some of the costs you pay when you break your agreements? What are some of the costs you may have paid in your life when you broke an agreement? Just don't yell. I say yell it up, but let me point to you first so we yell one at a time. Yes. Loss of trust. What else?
A lowering of self-esteem.
Lowering of your own self-esteem.
Stress.
Stress in your life. Missed opportunities. I'm sorry? Weight gain. Shame. Disappointment. Loss of integrity. You were going to say the same thing. Okay.
Closeness.
Loss of closeness with another person. Yes.
Sabotaging yourself.
You sabotage yourself so you don't get what you say you want. You miss information because you're focused somewhere else, not where you want to intend to be. Yes. Guilt, which you can add on to yourself. Loss of finances, loss of energy. Hurt relationships. Holding yourself back from fully expressing what you're here for, what you're meant to do, your destiny, if you will. Yes.
People seem to not be able to trust you.
People don't trust you anymore. Depression. Poor health. Not losing weight. Yes. Stop trusting yourself. You lose self-trust. Hopelessness can occur.
Loss of self-confidence.
Loss of self-confidence. Okay, so yes, two more. We'll stop there.
Confusion.
Confusion. Self-hatred. Let's talk about confusion for just a minute. I need a volunteer to come up here and demonstrate some with me. Who'd be willing to do that? Let's see. Let me pick you, Andrea. How many of you have ever felt confused? How many find that useful to getting your goals? Okay, good. Now, we're going to pretend that Andrea is me and I'm me, okay? And what happens is, just like PJ said, he sets his alarm clock to get up at 5 or 6 or whatever, and he doesn't do it. Either hits the snooze alarm, or sometimes, you ever set your alarm but forgot, you set the time but forget to put the little on button over there? I love that one. All right. So I'm going to be training Andrea here as part of me to function effectively in the world. And to do that, I need to give her directions. So I'm going to teach her how life works here. So if I say go forward, I go, this is forward, Andrea, okay? And I go, this is backwards, okay? And this is right, and this is left, okay? So let's try that one more. If I say go forward, what are you going to do? Forward, good, okay, back, very good, and right, very good, and left, very good. So I've trained this part of myself. Now, let's see what sometimes happens. See if this feels familiar. Andrea, I want you to go forward now. Andrea, go forward. Okay, go back. Okay, go right.
That is my right.
Go left. Go forward. Now, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, confused.
Confused. Okay. Anything else?
Held back.
Held back. Anything else?
Embarrassed.
Embarrassed. Okay. Now, every time you make an agreement with yourself and you don't keep it, because all agreements with other people, who else are you making the agreement with? Yeah, if I say to Steve, I'll be there at 5 and I don't show up, I told myself I'm going to be there at 5. So it's an agreement I made with myself as well as with Steve. And when I don't keep that agreement, what happens is some part of me, my unconscious goes, wait a second. When you make an agreement, what do you mean? And it gets confused. And after a while, we walk around in a state kind of numbed out confusion. We're tired. We're de-energized. We're frustrated. If I did that to her for a half hour, she'd get frustrated. How many of you ever get frustrated with your lack of success in life? You know, so the reality is it's very important that this word integrity means that you are one with yourself, one with your word, one with your commitments. And to the level that you're not that, it costs you. It's not only it costs you trust out in the world, but several of you mentioned it costs you self-trust, self-esteem, self-confidence. And that, I think, is the bigger price. So, give Andrea a hand for coming up. Well, let's talk about approval for a minute. How many of you have ever made an agreement to do something you didn't really want to do, but you didn't want to lose the approval of the person that you made the agreement with? How many of you have ever done that? How many of you have ever made an agreement for someone else, to get their approval, and then had to call them up and back out of the agreement? Sometimes at the last moment to the detriment of whatever it was that they were setting up. Looks something like this. Donna calls me up and she says, you know, my sister's coming to town, and my husband's out of town, and I've got my daughter, and I need someone to babysit her. You know, she's old enough, she's 14, just take her to a movie, take her out for dinner, go to the park, whatever, but I need someone to be with her. Would you do that for me, Jack? And I want Donna's approval, so I say yes. And so I put out a little cup and I say, will you give me a little approval? Can you pour it in there? Thank you very much. Here's a rope. Take the rope, okay? So now I've got this rope because she's got this expectation of me, right? And then let's say that Steve calls up and he says, you know, I'm your boss, he's my boss, and he says, you know, I need you to work late on Friday night because we got this report that's due, and I'm going to have everyone stay late and work. and I'm up for a promotion. So what do you think I'm going to say? Sure. So I go, can I get a little approval for that? I'm more hard worker, good. He gives me some approval. I go, here's a rope. Then my friend Mark calls up and he says, hey, buddy, I got tickets to the Beatles Reunited concert. Friday night, 8 o'clock. You want to go, don't you? I go, yeah, I want to go. He says, you're my buddy, right? You wouldn't let me down. I go, no, can I have a little approval? Thank you very much. Here's a chain, right? So now Friday comes, it's about 7 o'clock. I'm supposed to pick up her daughter, supposed to go back to work and do this project, and I want to go see this concert. So how many of you have ever called up Donna and said, Donna, I can't believe what just happened. My sister's come down with pneumonia, and I need to take her to the emergency room. I'm really sorry about that, and I know your daughter, but I just can't, you don't want your daughter exposed to pneumonia, and I need to be there for my sister. You understand, don't you? Very good. So, can I have a little more approval? Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. And then I go back to my boss. Boss, you won't believe it. My sister's come down with pneumonia, right? So I go through that routine. What happens to my relationship with Donna and Steve? It's weakened, okay? How many of you have ever made competing commitments, knowing that you're going to have to break one of them? Yeah. And so we get ourselves in trouble. And the way out of that is to tell the truth. There's two kinds of approval. There's the approval I get from Donna and from Steve and from Mark. And there's the approval I give myself. Which do you think is more heavyweight? My self-approval. And if I have my self-approval fully, would I really need theirs? No, the truth is I don't. When you really fully love and accept yourself and approve of yourself just the way you are, then you don't need other people's approval. You just live in your truth. And then you're not out there selling yourself and giving away chains and ropes that people can pull because you said you would, you said you would. We tell our kids offhandedly, Dad, will you take me to Disneyland on Saturday? Oh yeah, sure. Well, Saturday comes. Let's go, Dad. I can't. I've either got a golf game or a report due, or I'm going to go help your mom in the garage because I said I'd help her clean up, whatever. And a relationship with the kid starts to deteriorate. So let's look at agreements for just a moment. Here's a couple guidelines I found really useful in my life. Don't make agreements you don't intend to keep. Some of you signed that sheet knowing full well you were going to break some of those agreements. Didn't you? Yeah. And there were all kinds of people that raised their hand and said, I want an exception. I want to sit with my husband, or I want to do whatever. And what did I say in almost every case? Yes. Now, there's a few things I wouldn't agree to, but the ones that were asked here, I agree to. So you have the option to renegotiate agreements. Sometimes people won't renegotiate the agreement or won't, say, I don't want to agree to that. I'd like to set it up this way for fear of what? Loss of approval, loss of the contract, the job, whatever it is. But again, you're losing your own approval and your own integrity. The other thing is write your agreements down. This is what books are for, and there's time management programs. If you're going to take your kid to Disneyland on Sunday at 3 o'clock, write down Sunday, 3 o'clock, take kid to Disneyland. Because how many of you have made agreements fully intending to keep them and then forgot you made them? Yeah, and that gets us in trouble. That's why time management systems are very, 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 very valuable. The other thing is when you know you're going to have a broken agreement, communicate it ahead of time. If you know you're going to be late to a meeting by 15 minutes, call them as soon as you know, and then let them know you're going to be late, rather than just show up late. Very powerful. If you have a broken agreement, renegotiate it afterwards. Say, look, acknowledge it. I have a broken agreement. I told you I'd do such and such, and I didn't do it. And I'd like to renegotiate with you and either recommit or tell you why that's become an impossibility for me or whatever it is. But tell the truth. Don't make up my sister has pneumonia stories. If you're bad at remembering your agreements, which I can be, I have a secretary. She tells me, she calls me, she says, you have a phone call. She gives me a daily schedule every day of all the commitments I've made, phone appointments, things that I need to get done. So you can help. We all have weaknesses, and it's okay to have people fill in those weaknesses. You can afford to pay for it, you can trade for it, you can develop systems, there are programs that will call you up. I mean, if you don't get up in the morning, there are services that will dial you up and make sure you're up. They'll call you again, like in the hotel, 15 minutes later, are you awake? you know. So use those things. Okay. This is why we take agreements seriously and why we set it up this way and why we do what we just did. It's not that the world's going to come to an end if you're not in your seat when Superman music starts playing. But to the level that you make agreements and don't keep them, you're eroding your own self-trust. You're eroding that integrity. There are certain people in your life, you know, if they say they'll do it, they'll do it. And you can trust those people and rely on those people. You want that internally and externally.
You have reached the end of this disc, but there's more. Just go to the next DVD. To resume listening to this course on audio CD, please go to CD number 15.